Steve-O, how are you, mate?
Good, Mark. How are you doing?
Good, good, good. Good to be live here on air.
And you are currently located in a new place, I see from your background.
I am in Vancouver on holiday.
On holiday. Oh, okay. So no work.
Yep. So this is an Airbnb. No work. I've got this. This is a one bit of work this week. And then what have I got? I've got to get up at 2 a.m. in the morning tomorrow morning and do a user group presentation to Perth, Australia.
Well, that sounds like work.
That is. My wife's not happy, let me tell you.
Yeah, you said radio silence, and now you've got an event you're doing plus this. So you're not very good at
happening. See, this is where life goes on. So
you're not very good at radio silence.
Yeah, I'm definitely not.
And I see you're still out there tweeting, and you're still out there, sending posts. So your idea of silence is pretty loud.
True. Have we got anybody? Who we got on from the audience today? Who's on air? Can you say hello if you're?
Yeah. Say hi.
You're joining us.
We're going to be getting into a bunch of interesting stuff today, and we got a great guest coming on here in a little bit. So I'm looking forward to the show today.
Yeah, Matt Whitteman, right?
Yeah, Matt Whitteman.
Looking at being on air. I'm on coffee today, no beer because it's actually early in the morning.
Yeah, it's usually, that's where I'm at, right? It's 11 a.m. my time, so I'm always coffee, or you usually beer over there in the UK. So
exactly.
We should have shifted the time to a little later, so I could have had a beer for a change.
Yeah, you might have confused the audience.
So last week, I think you asked about the background here, and I told you I was at an Airbnb on a special assignment.
Oh yeah.
And
looks like you're still on that assignment because that's the same Airbnb you're in last week.
It's the same Airbnb I was in, and that last week, and it'll be the same Airbnb for the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was going to just reveal the assignment to everybody. Because now it's done and dusted. I'm a single man. Yeah, so
you
moved out, divorce in process, all good, no hard feelings, no battle, just kind of ran its course, and time for something new. And
okay,
so I'm going to be a free man, the most eligible MVP. If anybody's interested. And I'm looking forward to, one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to really is travel.
Yeah.
I'm going to be trying to hit every D365 Saturday that'll pay my way, and just start traveling, hitting all those events, because I wasn't able to do as much travel as I wanted to, but now it's interesting when you no longer have to ask permission to do anything. How many things open up. So all good. I'm good. She's good. Everybody's good. And
awesome.
But that was a secret assignment. So anybody wondering why I'm sitting here in an Airbnb and will be for the next couple of days or next couple of shows, that's why.
Makes sense. So what are you thinking? You got any plans afoot? What are you thinking? Or are you just at the moment playing it by ear?
My business is pretty portable, right? I mean, it's an internet business. All employees are virtual. Everybody works from home. I'm running the ForceWorks global empire from an Airbnb. So I'm pretty portable, and I've been thinking about maybe moving out to Seattle for a little while and get a place out in Bellevue. I like Bellevue. I'm not a big fan of Seattle itself, but I like Bellevue.
Nice.
And just kind of be where the action is. I've had good luck, as have you, building relationships with Microsoft people remote, but it feels like that could maybe be taken to another level if I'm actually, right around the corner.
Yeah, well, look at Shan MacArthur, right? He for a lot of time run his business out of Canada, and then he made that move and went to what did he do? He moved into Seattle or Bellevue area. And then, within a couple of months, his whole company gets acquired by Microsoft. And, we see the whole ADX Studio portals, all that kind of stuff go over to Microsoft. And so that definitely was, that'd be a
great strategy. I don't know that I'll have that level of fortune that he did, but I think I want to, I've lived in Tampa my whole life. And at some point, you just want to try someplace new, and that one's a logical place in addition to being new.
Yep.
and maybe live there for a year and then make some decisions about where I might want to go next.
Yeah.
So not in a hurry to meet anybody. I got a full plate with I'm already a workaholic, and now there'll be no stopping the workaholic, which is other than
what
maybe a heart
I like
attack.
about and what you've said there is that one of the things when I went independent myself, last year, which is around May timeframe last year after I finished my travels, was I kind of defined what business or what kind of being an independent would work for me. In other words, what I took on. And one of my criteria was that I could do whatever I did from anywhere in the world, right? I didn't want to be tied up or controlled from a physical location, because I just feel that the world and the model we're operating in now is moving, it's pivoting. And I wanted to do the type of work I do from anywhere in the world. I appreciate being able to be on Vancouver Island here like this and still being able to have a call like this, do what I need to do. My upcoming projects really can be run from anywhere in the world. I like that portable nature of the business.
Don't miss a beat. You can almost run it off a phone to some degree, but I brought my whole cockpit with me, so I've got my big multi-monitor set up and my big gaming desktop down here. But
nice.
I used to do everything off a Surface Pro. I still had a couple monitors connected to it.
Yeah.
But so you can send, and you can accomplish quite a bit on a phone. So I also made this week the move to iPhone.
Oh, well done.
I got the iPhone XS Max.
Okay.
Like the same size, pretty much same size as the Note that I had before, the Samsung Note. But it's my first time kind of going back to an iPhone. I tried it after the Windows Phone, which I really love the Windows Phone. It's a shame that thing went away. But I tried the iPhone, and I think I just didn't give it enough time to get used to it, and jumped over to Android. And so I was ready for a change. Everybody seems to be. It seems to be a lot of folks I know on all the family and stuff like that are on iPhone. So for FaceTime,
I'm a big iOS fan. At the end of the day, right? For me, the quality of the device is amazing. I'm constantly impressed. Like, my wife works at Google, and I see what she gets with Pixel and whatnot and the other devices. And that apart from the Galaxy Samsung side of things, nobody really is delivering massive innovation. It's like we've gone into the incremental phase now of mobile device. We're not seeing
probably true with iPhones too.
Totally. What they bring out is just slightly incremental.
Yeah. But everybody has to run down and buy it.
I'll let you answer Frank's question in the chat, because it's a license.
I was gonna let you answer Frank's question in the chat.
That's licensing's right up now. But I did have a question from the audience that I would like to pop out there. And this question, I have to just jump into my email because it's an anonymous question that's been asked. And let me read it to you.
All right.
Okay. Hi, Mark. I have an anonymous question to be discussed by you and Steve this week. Okay, here it is. We're seeing more and more SIs, system integrators, bringing out ISV offerings or spinning out ISV companies. What are your thoughts on ISVs doing it the opposite way and spinning out SIs to cater for the service work, or ISVs doing more service-based work? It is a two-faced mask where it's okay for one to do it and not the other. Sorry, that's a question. Is it a two-faced mask where it's okay for SIs to become ISVs, but not okay for ISVs to become SIs? Is the market changing and the route to market is becoming less partner-focused is the second question. So two questions here. Is it okay for ISVs to spin up SI practices? As we see the other way. And then the second question is the market changing and the route to market is becoming less partner focused? I'm interested to hear your and Steve's thoughts.
So I think that Power Platform has taken the consistent deck of cards that we've all played with for many years and the rules that we've played by and thrown them straight up in the air. Mm-hmm. And all bets are off right now.
Yeah.
I believe over the next year or so, we'll see the new standards form for how people are going to work with each other. But But right now, everybody's like, all bets are off. I think ISVs are thinking about providing services. SIs are thinking about getting in the ISV space. There's a lot of exploring going on right now.
Yep.
Frankly, more exploring than doing. I mean, they talk about a lot of that person talked about a lot of SIs launching ISV. I haven't actually seen a lot of that happen yet. But there's a lot of exploring going on right now, and I think that the winner will be the customer.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to see some long-time ISVs, and already have seen it, launching services and kind of cutting out the partner from the middle.
Yep.
I think we're going to see some partners that have always used this particular ISV solution, always sold it every time, decide, you know what, let's just go build our own version of that.
Yep.
I think we'll see some of that stuff happening. And I think the biggest challenge is there's such completely different mindsets.
Totally.
We made that transition from SI to ISV a few years ago, and it really, your staffing of the organization, your forecasting, your financial model, your everything is completely different. And I think that's why a lot of SIs that talked about ISV for so long didn't actually do anything, because they came to realize they couldn't figure it out. It's funny because it's similar to this transition from on-premise to cloud.
Yeah.
You know, we had so many SIs back in the day were like, well, I don't know how to make money in the cloud. I mean, I usually sell $100,000 worth of hardware. You know, where's that at? You know, and they were struggling with the financial model of moving to the cloud. And the ISV financial model is as different as the SI model is than the cloud model was to the on-premise model. So it really, I think I think we're going to see lots of people stick a toe in. We'll probably see a bunch of stuff tossed up on AppSource that maybe doesn't go anywhere, and I think there'll be a bunch of efforts that are started that don't go anywhere. And it really takes a practice that's completely bifurcated. I mean, you've got to have an SI division that does SI, works customizations, and another group that's building IP. Trying to solve both of those with the same team is just a disaster. So hopefully that answered that question. And
my take on it is that an SI and an ISV can't operate in both places and under the same company. I'm not saying the same owners can't own two different businesses, but I think they actually need to be run as two separate businesses, two separate legal businesses, but of course have a common ownership and therefore a common relationship between the two. This way, you can have your management structure in place in an ISV business that knows the revenue stream is purely around product sales. The more product sales are made, that's the revenue stream. That's the way you do your R&D. That's the way you create a financial profitable model around selling product. The flip side is an SI system integrator is 100% focused on services, right? How many billable hours can I get out there, right? And that's why I think it's a great relationship that has synergies, but I think they need to be two different companies. And I tell you why. The reason two different companies is, one, it doesn't scare off partners that are purely in there to sell your products, and they don't want you going after their business. And you have to have a good, honest relationship there that you're never going to chase that.
No, your sister company will.
What do you call PowerApps? Thomas said an expletive was going to come out my mouth. I think PowerApps are an interesting place going forward with Microsoft's new ISV model. There's going to be landscapes for them to negotiate. I don't know if there'll be any grandfathering associated with those landscapes, but I think they're up for a very interesting business journey going forward. I think companies like what Thomas has talked about there have got a bigger problem, and that's their HR problem, and that these big companies have been sweating their staff assets without treating them like human beings for a long time. And I'm not just highlighting PO in this case. A lot of them are. And the market's getting savvy to it. The employee is realizing that they are becoming powerful in the right of if they create their own personal brand, they get choice. where those big SIs have held on to that space. Anyhow, I digress.
Yeah,
Let me just go back to the last question.
And just a quick point on that. I mean, both of us know several people that do work for PowerOpps, and I can say they're all happy. So that they seem to be happy.
Yeah.
So I think for the right people, the certain companies are a good environment. And I think that your idea of having two companies, another benefit of that is that you could potentially down the road sell your ISV solution very easily without having to go extricate it from your SI business, which you may want to keep, or vice versa.
100%. Two different companies that you can sell. And the other thing is, though, I think the way to market in the past that has been heavily through partner for an ISV, right? You build a partner relationship and you need the partner to do the implementation services. I feel a lot more ISV products are going to be standalone, so there's no implementation. It's a pure SaaS ISV solution. So therefore, I don't need to teach them how to integrate the tool. I don't need partners to do that integration. I need partners that I don't need partners as ISV. I don't need SIs, right? Because really, if you're creating a really good ISV product, one, you'll offer all your own training material for it, so they use it the very best possible way you've designed it. And two, there just won't be kind of like, I think the whole partner world is changing so much that we don't need partners to configure and build stuff anymore. When we're needing them more to be much more, have a lot more, if you like, subject matter expertise. So you're an expert in healthcare as a Microsoft partner, and you've got lots of healthcare customers as an example, right? You're not a jack of all trades. You're not just, somebody wants a CRM system. I think those days are well gone and are becoming more and more obsolete. Companies want partners to come in that can solve their serious digital business challenges or non-digital that should be digital challenges and solve them. So I think, run the two companies, same ownership maybe as of those companies, but they're two separate companies because they conflict with each other. And like in Australia, I tried to run an ISV as part of a SI. And guess what? The powers that be above me always chase the billable hours over investing in a 9-month period to build something that you're ultimately going to ship and go to market with after 9 months. That model doesn't carry weight in an SI. They hate it.
And I think that, that's the challenge for an SI wanting to get into the ISV business is they're going to have to take some of their billable hour income and invest it in that SI side. And it could take quite a bit of investment, quite a bit of time. It could be some wasted money. They go down the wrong path. Or, what happens also, I think, is you see people that have got this brilliant idea and they start building it and building it and building it and building it. And then just before they're ready to launch, someone else is launching it. So there's really no new ideas. There's a speed to market component to being an ISV right now. And get out there with something, get out there with that minimum viable product and build, because if you just keep building until it's perfect, by the time you stick your head up, there'll be 3 of them out there already. We got one question here from Frank about the Microsoft. Will they tax the services of the ISV? And I know he's talking about the revenue sharing. And here's how I understand it. And to clarify, as an ISV, if I sell a solution, hey, there's Maddie. Hey. If I sell a solution as an ISV to a customer, I will of course be taxed on all of the recurring components of that. That would include the license. That would include if I sold that customer a monthly support package, if I sold them a recurring $1,000 a month for development help, anything recurring, I'm going to pay that tax on. But if I sell them separate from my ISV license, implementation service for whatever, $50,000 or whatever that cost is, I'm not taxed on that service. But anything that's recurring with that customer is tied to that ISV will be subject to that 10 or 20%, depending on which bracket you're in. Frank, hope I answered that question. And Matt, how are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Talking about ISV, and here we have a guy who was spent. How long were you with Click?
Almost 8 years.
8 years knee deep in the ISV space.
Before Click, were you also in the ISV ecosystem before Click?
No, I was on the SI side.
Wow.
For about 7 years before that, and now I'm back on that side at Hitachi.
Okay, so all you people out there that don't know Matt, he was the original writer of the CRM Bible. It was a big doorstop back in the day.
It was a Bible. Yep.
Yeah, and I think it was titled something Bible, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the CRM 2011 Administration Bible.
There we go.
I got to tell you, Matt, because I still refer to that. I still refer to that every now and then, and it doesn't make any damn sense.
What? Which bit?
You still refer to that as like an example of something not to do. Don't write an 800-page book about a piece of software that's going to change in a few months.
But I'm reading some of the instructions in there, and they just don't make any sense on the screen today. I think that's a challenge with writing books anymore. It seems like everybody needs to go with if they're going to write a book, it's got to be something digital. And I think writing a book is a big job initially to do, but a digital book is a commitment like forever.
I got to go update all my screenshots from that book. I still have all the original files. So.
You think of writing some more?
Yeah, I'll just do like a search and replace for CRM. Should I change it to PowerApps or CDS? What
Yeah, you're dealer's choice at the moment. I think that the entire community, it feels like people are leaning more towards the Power Platform as the generic term to describe this stuff. But
okay, so here's the thing, though. I hear or whisper that there might be new branding coming out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's been 2 months, so why not? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Just as everybody's starting to get their heads around what Power Platform is or CDS is, it's a perfect time.
Yeah. So Matt, my question for you is this: you've been ISV side with Click for a very long time, and you would have to maintain a company party line in your communication. Right? As a loyal employee does.
Yes.
So now you're outside, and what I need you to do is also take your Hitachi hat off if that's possible, because I don't want that kind of indoctrinated view either.
But you get the wrong guy. I'm a party line kind of guy. Sorry.
Come on. So listen, I was in Oslo this past weekend, hanging out with Thomas and Jonas and a bunch of others on the actual call now. And one of the things, I started asking questions around was Dynamics 365 for marketing. Is it the best kept secret, or is it because one, I'm not hearing anybody implementing. I'm not hearing Microsoft talking about it. It's kind of like I was on the team that was on the pre-release team, gave feedback, etc. And now it's kind of like crickets. It's like there's no marketing, there's nothing going on. It's just quiet. And I'm like, is it a massive secret that that nobody knows about, or is it a dead duck? Is it not going anywhere?
Is there some radio or something playing in the background on you? I'm getting some background noise. I can't
hear any background noise.
All right. Continue.
All right. No, thanks, Steve, for the interruption. That's good. What was the question again, Mark?
Is Dynamics 365 a thing for marketing? A thing?
Look, I think here's Microsoft's problem. They have to show some staying power because, first of all, the partner and the community's been burnt before with their MDM debacle several years ago. Mm-hmm. And how many new products have come out in the Dynamics family in the last 2 years? So everybody, I think, wants Microsoft to do a good job with what they release. But
nervous.
Yeah, there's a little bit of nervousness there. And, but I think partners are getting skilled up on Microsoft's marketing app. So it's a big learning curve. It's not just enough to know the software, because then you also have to know marketing lingo. You need to know what a marketing process looks like when you go talk to customers about it. That's a big learning curve.
And the same one you would have had with Click, though, right? I mean, resellers, they'd had to do more than just install the solution for Click and walk away.
One of the secrets of Click Dimension's success is that we sold with our partners, and we were right there with our partners. You have to have that presence in the marketing conversation. So I think that's a big challenge Microsoft's going to have a hard time overcoming. I think so. If you want, I mean, my current perspective is Click Dimensions is still the best marketing automation solution out there that's purely in the dynamic space.
Yep.
And it's theirs to lose.
Yep.
That position. And Microsoft has continued. They're doing their releases every twice a year. They're continuing to add value to their product, but it's really going to come down to the ecosystem. It's going to come down to the partners.
Yeah.
Because there'll be a lot of failed implementations if the partners don't get familiar with how marketing works and how it's different from doing a sales implementation.
Yeah.
I think all the SIs have been able to count on one thing from Microsoft when they've sniffed around their space, is that Microsoft will bumble around for a long time before they finally present any kind of a challenge. They can't seem to get out of their own way sometimes with these things. I don't know if it's eagerness or if they're just not good as SI or ISVs themselves. But the marketing app in particular, that thing's had an odd journey, right? I mean, it started out as a business edition product targeting SMB, and then when they dropped the business edition tag, suddenly it was going to move up, but oh, wait a minute, we got Adobe partnership up there, so we can't go too high.
They buy Marketo. They bring that to market.
Adobe buys Marketo right back in that middle space, and that whole Adobe relationship I don't think has been as successful. So then the marketing team is kind of like, hey, Dad, can I go higher? And I think they got the nod, go wherever you want. So it's been this continuous kind of evolution to try and figure out where in the hell we want to sit in the space.
Yeah.
And when it launched, it was pretty buggy. We worked with a pretty significant deployment early on as one of the pilots partners with that group. And I mean, we were on the phone with that development team and the leadership of that product every other day about something. And we were very fortunate to have a very patient customer who was completely dedicated to Microsoft take that ride with us, which was a bumpy ride. But I was telling Mark before the show, I wouldn't be reluctant to sell it to someone now. I mean, the product is they're still adding features, they're still growing the team, the commitment feels like it's there, and I think that there's bigger things afoot for all ISVs in the future, things that I don't even know that Click is aware of on the horizon that Microsoft obviously is, and really where I'm getting there is this whole idea of CDS without the first party.
Yeah.
So are you saying what I said back at Extreme in Amsterdam earlier this year and got all the shit about Dynamics 365 is dead? That's what you're saying, isn't it, Steve?
What I'm saying, it's not dead, but I feel like it will be soon. Yeah. I think that, it's interesting when you're in our position, all of us, and we've got our different contacts at Microsoft and we're talking to them about stuff and they're not necessarily all talking to each other, about stuff, but they've all been given different marching orders. And when you stand back and look at all those different marching orders and you kind of see, wait a minute, all of these things, while they're sort of disconnected, are all pointing the same damn direction. And everything that I am seeing or hearing right now is Power Platform.
Yeah.
The new licensing scheme that's coming out with that $10 per app model for users that's only on the platform. It's other things that I can't really even talk about, but there's just a lot of motion around. The whole ISV motion is really heavily pointed at now. I mean, the whole ISV recruit motion is recruiting for platform, not recruiting to build a first party.
I think, if you look at the ISV space is really challenging right now. If you come from where we did it, Click Dimensions, coming from the old CRM world, not only are you as an ISV, you can get priced out because of the ISV tax now and sharing your revenue, but the first party app licensing is pricing out. How do you sell a $15 license of sales to 100 users plus add on a license for an ISV solution that's got a monthly cost. I mean, it gets expensive very quickly. So I think, yeah, as an ISV, you need to have that CDS play right now. You need to have the platform.
You need to be sitting behind the cheapest license possible.
Yeah, and you need to have the best of breed in whatever your vertical or whatever your horizontal connect application is.
Yeah. So I've said for some time around, let's just focus on Click for a second, is that they need to get really serious about integration to the marketing channels out in market. So whether that be Google AdWords, whether that be Facebook advertising, whether that be Twitter integration, really from a purely advertising perspective, right? So how can I track my customers across those platforms? I've not seen any of that. We've seen social media listening come out of Click. What is our market saying? Kind of more for R&D. But what's the future of Click? Do they, let's say if Microsoft doesn't execute, they're going to just own it because they've owned it. But are you seeing, now that you're out and your understanding, are they going to build out these gaps that the other platforms have, like Adobe, like Adobe Marketing Cloud, like Marketo had? Are they going to fill these gaps in around the integration to the actual advertising platforms, or is it have they got too much other work on their plate?
I mean, I honestly don't know. I can't say what the direction is there, but I know that there was a lot of emphasis right before I left the company on connectors, the idea of connectors. I mean, really, it's once you've got the platform for marketing, what are you connecting to? I mean, that was always our strong suit and that's one of the areas where Microsoft is still, going to have a challenge. Click Dimensions has connectors for the tools that marketers use. If it's GoToWebinar, why don't the next one, obvious one, add Zoom, a Zoom connector, Twilio connectors, all those types of things. And just like you said, all the ad platforms, really, those are just connect stories.
Yeah.
So I know there was a lot of emphasis in the planning on side of that. I'm not sure what the execution is going to look like, though, from Click Dimensions.
Yeah.
I think Microsoft's kind of leaning on that whole connector framework, sitting behind, Flow and Power and all that sort of stuff to solve those problems for them. We'll let Zoom build a connector that can be used by Flow. It can be used by anything, including our marketing app, and we'll depend on them. So,
but even though, don't you think though the story? I mean, I love Flow and I love all the connectors that are available on the Power platform, but it still feels, even though there's all the talk about citizen developers, I can't see a marketer sitting down.
Not chance.
Let me create a flow to integrate my LinkedIn ads or my Facebook ads. Yep. Even if a connector's there, that's not an approachable platform.
No, I think it's a patch, because we got to remember they started building that marketing app really from whole cloth, right? They scrapped everything out of MDM and started completely over from whole cloth not that long ago. That's a big thing to build, the big blocks, just the big blocks to get built and get them all working. And, just to try and even catch up with where Click was, even to look similar on a comparison page, there were some big blocks that need to be built. And I think that, for some of those things, like those types of connectors, those are like they're not the gotta haves. They're the nice to haves for certain segments, and maybe you get to those eventually. But Click's been out there a long time. The thing's been developed and evolved and over many, many years. And Microsoft jumped into a game of catch up.
And I think this is where I think Microsoft made a bit of a mistake. Because if you look at, I think there's an opportunity there. If you look, I remember hearing a story once about, it's probably 10, 15 years ago, South America. And most of the countries there didn't have the similar kind of infrastructure in terms of, phone lines that went from house to house and town to town. But when mobile phones came out, they were so rapidly adopted that they leapfrogged and were way ahead of North America in terms of technology. And I think there's a similar play right now in the marketing space and just in general in the ISV space, where instead of building things that were built already and trying to compete on this, I mean, marketing automation as a platform, if you look at Click Dimensions, you know, it lined up pretty well with a predecessor, Pardot. You know, Microsoft came in, you know, 10 years later, and is basically what they're building is what, you know, was to have
10
parity.
years ago.
It was to have parity with Pardot 10 years ago and Salesforce 10 years ago. There was an opportunity for them to leapfrog and say, well, let's do something completely
the next thing,
new,
the next big thing.
edge. Yeah. So I think that's an opportunity still for an ISV out there, and maybe CDS is the way to go and do that leapfrog.
Yeah, no, I think it is interesting. It's a great point too. It's almost like they took the model of something that was built a long time ago and said, "Okay, guys, go build this," and that was really just not very insightful or innovative, and now you just put yourself in a direct, you talk about that feature to feature comparison. Well, you tried to build something to match the feature instead of building a different feature set completely. You know, I mean, they seem to be and I remember dealing with that team, and they're looking at, obviously they were cognizant of Click and HubSpot and some of those, and lots of those conversations seem to be about feature parity. And I got frustrated in those, and it was a lot of it was around the licensing, because I said, there's an opportunity here to do something completely novel and completely different with the license. And I was pushing at the time, you know, just a pure consumption model. You've got all the capability with Azure to be able to track whatever it is, and turn it to a pure consumption model. They're like, whoa, nobody does that. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly why you do it, you know?
Yeah, and they should have really just not, I mean, the whole interface part, I mean, they came out at the same time as the unified interface is coming out, and so they're building in that, so that makes, you know, they had all the early bugs of the unified interface and everything. I mean, why not just build the platform services behind there? For email, for SMS, you know, for nurturing those, you know, customer journeys and everything. Build them as platform in a platform model, and let you wire them up the way you want to wire them up.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's any going back now. That's one thing they don't do. They keep their head down and keep pressing down the path, and unless they just give up on it, which I don't see them doing. I think they're waiting out others. I think they're very patient. You know, Microsoft has plenty of money and they have plenty of time. They're very patient. I think that Click has a big job to do to transition, you know, a lot of legacy IP over to all the new platform, all things that are going on over. That's the massive investment that maybe they make, maybe they don't, maybe they try and sell it again before they have to. But I think maybe there's a part of Microsoft thinking we'll just wait them out. But it is interesting what a poor job they're doing marketing a marketing app. Maybe they should use it. Maybe they should use it for themselves. Maybe they should use Click.
Well, I think there's a lot more interesting things. If I were coming into the space as an ISV today, there's a lot more interesting areas to go into as well. So,
what are you thinking?
Well, I mean, you may have seen I'll plug myself a little bit. I just started really diving into customer insights. Again, I kind of have the hesitation a little bit, like, is Microsoft going to stick with this? You know, they have roadmap and release plans already announced for Wave 2 this year. But will it be around a year from now, 2 years from now? Will it look the same? But that, I think, is a great use of the platform they've built. You're tapping across Azure machine learning and AI. You're tapping into CDS. You can wire up Flow to it. You can build PowerApps, and Power BI connects to it. And at the core of it, you've got some really essential features that they've packaged up really nicely for sales and marketing, and really for marketing strategy. To me, if I were an ISV, those are the types of things I'd be looking at. You know, this is, again, Microsoft building out a first-party app to do something, packaging, but finding
using
that
their unique assets.
Yeah.
They kind of have a unique infrastructure that they can bring to bear on the market that they needed, and that's probably one of the best areas where they can really showcase that they'd have a tough. Anyone else would have a very tough time competing. They've got pieces of it, but to really showcase all of the things they have, I think that Insights is one of the strengths. Now you could probably count on its name changing 3 or 4 times.
We're already into name 2, aren't we?
Yeah.
This is already, well, it was started off as Azure Customer Insights, and it was
Now,
dynamic
wasn't there something AI was in it as well? And then they're like, hey, we need
sales AI
Yeah.
and sales. Well, there's
so it's a
sales
third
AI,
name we're up to.
Customer 360. Yeah, there
Yeah.
was also Customer 360. So
Yeah.
There are definitely a lot of products out there with very similar names, and I think it's definitely confusing for not just customers but partners to figure out which the hell insights do I need for what I'm trying to solve for, and they need to get that story crisper. Now launching AI builders, here's kind of the citizen version of this stuff, and there's just a lot of things there for a customer to try and figure out which one of these damn things do I grab. And not a lot of guidance from Microsoft or frankly partners that even know about that stuff. So it's going to be an interesting time coming forward with their big push towards platform. If I were advising any ISV today that was contemplating, going and building on top of the first party, I'd say don't spend your money there. Do not spend your money there. They removed all the restrictions. I mean, you can build anything you want on the platform. You could replicate every single bit of their IP if you want to invest the money to do so. You wouldn't do that, but there's no restrictions to build on that platform. It's potentially, if you've architected it right, a $10 SKU for that customer sitting in front of your ISV. Maybe you have to invest a little more because you're not going to take advantage of some of the stuff that's there. But in the long run, that $10 SKU between you and a customer versus a $95 SKU is huge for market size. Huge for market size. And I think there's going to be a little bit of a gold rush here. I recently wrote, and this is more of an SI story for you guys, Matt. I recently wrote a post about saving 92% on licenses. Mm-hmm. And the thinking there was around this idea that we've got so many customers out there right now on enterprise plan licenses, right? $115 retail. That maybe they had big hopes and dreams when they started, spent a bunch of money on a deployment, whatever, but at the end of the day, they ended up using accounts and contacts, and not, they just base it, and everything else was maybe custom, some custom entities, custom workflows. And I think there's a bunch of those folks that are in a position to frankly do a straight lift and shift right to the platform. And that is a legitimate savings of 92%, and that is not a fantasy scenario. That scenario exists out there.
Yeah,
there will be others that would need to invest some money to kind of re-architect, but it's a one-time expense for a savings, for a very long time. It wouldn't take long to recoup that kind of savings, depending on how many users you have. And then one of the stumbling blocks to that motion right now for some of those customers, well, and of course I'll finish that out. They're getting rid of the plan license, right? That's been announced. Plan license going away, so that means your users that were now on that plan are going to have to flip to one of the first party app plans, which isn't huge because frankly 90% of the users are only using a single app anyway. Also, another factor in that is a lot of these people that are on enterprise plans, obviously we're not paying $115 because they're on EAs and deeply discounted. But I think once they have the move to the first party app from their plan license, and I've been getting the impression that they're not going to be as aggressive on the discounting as they were. People are going to be looking at potentially paying somewhat more for somewhat less here in the near future, which is going to cause even more people to start looking at, can we save 92% or can we save a bunch of money by re-architecting? And one of the stumbling blocks right now, frankly, is ISVs. And folks that they've come to depend on this ISV solution, and this ISV solution depends on the first party. So the ISV solution, then, if the savings is big enough, that customer is not going to just say, oh, well, we're stuck. They're going to say, what's an alternative to this ISV solution that will work on a platform? Because we'll just get rid of it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to, and I think there's going to be a real herd of customers looking at that motion to see if they can play. All SI, that's a big SI play right there.
I mean, it's interesting. It could lead to, you still have the tail end of customers migrating from on-prem to the cloud, and they're going basically from the same thing to the same thing. They're going from their sales implementation to the sales first-party app online. But so you're saying it could be a similar kind of migration from that sales first-party app to new slimmed down.
It doesn't even need to be slimmed down. I mean, it's XRM, right? It can be as complicated as the first party apps if you want. Nobody uses every bit of the first party apps. They only use what they use, and they probably customize that. I mean, they could ultimately have the exact same experience if they want to spend the money. And if you, especially if someone's looking at making the move from on premise and they're going to make that investment anyway, what a perfect trigger to say, you know what, let's see if maybe we can migrate and make this thing work, down at this much lower license cost.
That's assuming Microsoft doesn't change the licensing again in 6 months.
It's one of the tells among many, I think, that are going on at Microsoft about how they see the future of, I think, business applications. I think they see between citizens and ISVs that $10 license doesn't sound like a lot, but it is if there's millions of them. And when you move off a $95 price point down to a 10, you opened up your potential market vastly. You really have just put up a sucker punch to all of the other competing solutions out there. And I think, make no mistake right now, as I've heard, Dynamics 365 pays the bills, but I don't think that's the long-term plan. I think if this thing takes off like it could, and like I feel it would, I'm not always right. But if it takes off like it could, it'll eclipse the Dynamics revenue to where Dynamics is like almost insignificant. And that's where I was saying to Mark, I don't think it's dead, but I think it will be dead, in the foreseeable future. That it just won't be needed, or it becomes like that aspirational thing, like a Surface Book is to the other OEMs.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that? It's interesting being back on the SI side because I'm already involved in some projects, and when we're actually sitting in the boardroom talking to the customer, the conversation is still really a CRM conversation. The customer, I mean, maybe it's just the projects I'm working on too, but customers still they grasp their need for a CRM product. When you get down into it, you may find that, well, what you really need is a way to track just these one or two little slices of that traditional, you need to track your sales pipeline. But the conversation still centers around CRM. I think it's going to be a long time before the marketplace says, because this it kind of feels more like going back to bespoke, build us something off of an Access database. I think customers are looking at, well, no, I want off-the-shelf software that handles this. Surely there must be off-the-shelf software that has best practices baked in for managing my pipeline, right?
Yep.
So
but then they'll buy that. They think they want this off the shelf. We actually ran into that with some government opportunities because there was a big mandate from the Obama administration at the time to put off the shelf offerings over custom development because they were getting raped on that all the time, But I think there's this idea that you're going to buy something off the shelf and just use it isn't real. You're going to engage with an SI. They're going to do massive customizations to that deployment to get it to meet your needs. And if you step back a little bit, you say, what would it have cost to get to the same end result on the platform instead of on the first party? By the time I hacked all that stuff up, got rid of stuff I didn't need, rebuilt everything, and worked with all that stuff that's there, would we have been faster, less expensive, and have a more stable end result just building it from scratch on a platform? But you're right, it is kind of a coming back to the old way of thinking of, we're just going to build everything from scratch.
Yeah. Well, I think
so. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about, Mark, that we mentioned a little earlier, and I think you made a comment about it, was this idea about ISVs trying to build these finished turnkey solutions that customers just are able to use, and maybe they don't need a partner at all. And we're a case study in exploring that with the Rapid Start stuff, because that was a simple approach at a very simple solution. You would think that would have been the spot where something like that would have been massively successful. We built a simple to use CRM for a simple business. Here's simple business, buy it and use it. That was not the case. Every single one of those customers still wanted, and maybe we just taught them all that they can customize, they still wanted something of their own. They still wanted something unique. I had this idea at some point in the future, I was going to sell apps and not have an SI ability at all, not even need one, But I've finally, after many years of working that, I've just resigned myself to, SIs aren't going away, and they're going to have to follow every one of these ISV solutions to take them, not just that last mile. Frequently, we've even renamed them all accelerators now. I'm not even trying to say it's a finished app. It's an accelerator. Just there's an assumption that you're going to have to follow this thing. And I think even built on accelerators and a lot of the ISVs that are looking out there, if you're thinking that you're just going to build something wonderful and the customer is just going to use it, yeah, you better be planning for that SI back end story.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. I feel that the partner model, the SI model of the past is going away. I think more customers that are committing to the platform in their business will bring in their own staff to manage it. They'll have, just like you saw IT departments of the past, depending on the size of the business, they will have their people that are experts on their platform in-house to make those tweaks and changes. I think the SI of today needs to pivot much more to around industry targeted expertise, so they can add value at an industry level rather than just a technology level.
Yeah, I would agree, and that's been a push from Microsoft for a while, and it's probably because they knew where this stuff was heading. And the simpler the application gets, the less value deep technical knowledge has, and the more value do you actually know my business comes into play. But it is interesting, that whole SI story. I'm actually working on a post right now about where the bones are buried, because you
about
bring
the
on an
about the Romanoffs.
No, this is about just customers hiring an SI, and we're in an interesting case right now with a large customer. We've been building custom stuff on the platform for them for quite some time, and you could take best practices and shove them up your ass. There's no such thing. There are certainly stupid ways to do things, but there's 20 good ways to do it.
That's brilliant. I love that. There's certainly stupid ways to do things. That's brilliant.
Yeah, but there's 20 good ways to do it, and Matt or I or you would all do a fine job of architecting a solution for a customer. We'd all do it completely different than each other, just based on our experience and comfort. And it's inevitable that every custom deployment becomes a house of cards. And what I mean by that is, somebody comes in and removes a card, not aware of what it's holding up, and the whole thing crashed. The only one that knows what's holding it up is the company that did it.
Yeah.
And I think that it's an interesting phenomena in the business, and we've got a customer now who the person we've been working with for all this time that clearly understood all that has decided to leave that company, and we got some new person that's come in that is just thinking, that this is just all like, I don't know, off the shelf, or they have no clue what's going on there, and trying to take this kind of hard line. And I'm kind of like, you don't realize how dependent you are on my knowledge. And yeah, everybody's replaceable, and every time I've followed a partner into a project, I'm not going to get into the forensics of all that. I'm probably going to quickly say, yeah, I'd have done it different, let's do it different, because it'd take just to figure out. You open up things. There's a mile-long workflow with 87 child workflows. Who's going to figure out what all that stuff did? The only one that knows is the person who wrote it. And to your point earlier, I think that even a bigger challenge is that customer that has their employee or somebody on staff try and build that stuff, because they will absolutely build a house of cards. They won't have the knowledge. They'll build something that might work, but then they leave. And if you've let them build something mission critical, and they leave, you are in a world of hurt. You might as well just throw it all out and start over again. Yeah,
and that's where rigor though comes into, right? If you've got that kind of in-house DevOps type process happening, that there is a supportable, write-up, documentation, etc. around it. And
never do that.
It has a robust business is doing that. They're going to put the SOPs in place. They're going to make sure that they're protected of staff leaving. Not there's a lot of businesses that wouldn't. I'd see that as an overhead, but the business that wants to stand,
especially in the mid-size,
to do that type of stuff.
Yeah. Thoughts, Matt?
Well, it sounds like you probably make a living going in and just like documenting people's undocumented systems, right?
Yeah, there's a whole business.
You look
at a scanner.
Mitch Milam's tool doesn't he have that documentation tool that goes in and and
tries to do
do all
something
your
like that.
as-builts, you know?
Yeah, and all your security roles and yeah.
Here's a diagram of your house of cards.
Yeah, nobody values that until that card is removed. So
Yeah.
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 And at that point, usually when that happens, usually everybody's ready to just blow the whole thing up and start over again anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, by that time it's
the
failed
project's
to
been
live up to
written
all
off.
of their expectations, and they're ready to just toss it and start over. So it's almost like a good spring cleaning that may be necessary just to start over.
Yeah, so true. Steve-O, do you want us to take a look at any outstanding questions? We're coming up to 5 minutes at the top of the hour.
Let me take a peek here and see if we've got any.
I get a chance to go back to my holiday for the next couple of hours before I start that early morning Perth user group call.
All right, we got 365ing again, I guess. When you guys sell D365 for marketing, how do you approach the need for the customer to have a marketing investment / plan to ensure a successful implementation? Well, it's kind of not on us, right?
That's a big piece that's missing. I think traditional SIs coming from the CRM world are comfortable going in and having a conversation about a sales process or a service process.
Yep.
As soon as it gets into marketing, they're like, oh, okay, what add-on do you want? What ISV solution do you want? Okay.
Yep.
I mean, you really need to be able to have it's business process is what it comes down to. It's just a marketing business process. And there's a lot of good resources out there. Maybe I need to write up some blogs about them, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think the challenge for lots of customers with marketing products is they're like, thanks, partner. I love this. I watched all the videos. They're awesome. I saw how and you've installed it for me. Great. Now go write my email campaign. Do the copy, do the artwork, and make sure it's effective. Of course, I want it to convert. So, do the A/B and the typical Microsoft partner out there is just not going to be able to help them at all. They're not going to be able to do it themselves successfully. I mean, probably 90% of the marketing dollars spent out there are wasted because people just don't know anything about how to do some of that stuff. And it's probably a piece, maybe to his point, that I think a lot of customers might be missing. They think, oh, we're going to install Click or Dynamics for Marketing, push a button, and suddenly customers will start coming in the door. And
no, you gotta start. Yeah, you gotta start by assessing what's the marketing maturity level of this customer. Are they just blasting emails out, or are they into full automation and life cycle management of
so just on the ISV front, do you think that if a new ISV started today, that there's still an opportunity to sell through SIs? Click built their entire worldwide network by using partners to sell that last mile and therefore, and then, get the services. If you're starting an ISV today, do you think that there's that Microsoft SI ecosystem that would sell enough of the product to go via or through partner nowadays?
No, that's a big challenge. Yeah, we had 900 active partners. We built that channel, over years laboriously. I don't think you could redo that again. I don't think it'd be worth it to do it again. You got to nowadays, like to Steve's point, if you can get a $10 license and you can sell as an ISV, you can sell your app on that. Go direct to the customer, especially if you got to give 10 or 20% of it to Microsoft. Go direct to the customer. The partner will come along once they start seeing, geez, that's my third customer that I've come across using this ISV's product. I better figure out how I can get in on that.
Yeah.
That's the way
it's like that franchise model. Go build a successful restaurant before you have people, franchise the restaurant model from you. You got to be able to prove that success, and they'll see it. They'll see it and want to get on to more of a. Yeah, when we had our reseller channel, we'd gotten up to 300 partners that Microsoft drove a lot of that along with Tech Data, and the big waste of time. So few of them actually did anything. It consumed a lot of energy, a lot of effort on our part. We're going to be doing another partner program, but it's going to be like hand selected. I'm thinking about maybe 10 partners globally that would be truly committed, because just corralling 300 people that aren't doing shit is a waste of everybody's time.
The challenge, though, is that often an SI, when they are working with a customer in a project, they're in there first and they want to own the whole deal end to end. They want to control that ecosystem.
This new $10 license kind of sucked all the revenue out of the license component for an SI. I mean, for an ISV, for anybody actually. Because before, with a larger license and with ISV embed or something, there was pretty good license revenue for an ISV to bundle that. And that was a little conflict with that partner who also wanted to sell the Microsoft license. Now that's kind of gone, and I think that partners it'll be bring your own license, customer. Who cares? It's too cheap, and now it'll just be selling the solutions on top of it. And Mark's telling me we're out of time. We're getting a hook.
Time is up, gentlemen. Time is up. Any kind of closing words before we shut down the stream?
It's been awesome having you on. That's been awesome, Matt. Always enjoy chatting with you, either in person or online here. Look forward. Where are you going to be next? What event?
UG Summit in Orlando, down your neck of the woods, Steve. I'll see you there.
You will absolutely see us there. All right, cool, man.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
All right, ciao, ciao, everybody.